All right, Alina, thank you so much for joining me on Unleashing Light. I am honored to have you as a guest here. If you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about what you do, that would be great.
Hi, my name is Alina Calinescu. I have been born and raised in Romania, immigrated in Canada, located now in Ontario between Toronto and Detroit. And what am I doing right now is totally different than what have I been trained in. I'm trained to be an engineer, more specifically chemical engineer, with an additional education in business, turned fitness instructor, then yoga teacher, then yoga teacher trainer, then yoga therapist, and added a whole bunch of other certifications such as meditation teacher to it.
Wonderful. So it sounds like you've had quite the journey of learning lots of different areas and having a lot of wisdom there. So, what led you on that journey of all of those different positions?
Okay, so uh, it's a long journey. The journey of immigration, it's not an easy journey for anyone. Romania is right now in the neighboring Ukraine, and it's right now maybe or maybe not kind of in a position of not ease, not to touch onto politics because we can stay there for 3 days. Um, we immigrated to Canada because of big dreams that were not happening in the position that we were in Eastern Europe. And immigration that we did not expect to be easy. I immigrated with my husband and with my back then 11-year-old son. And my husband got work right away. With me, it was a different story. It took over a year to find work, like meaningful work in my area. Not that I'm demeaning anything else, but I was told, okay, there is the risk that if you go for positions that are not in congruence with your education, then you're going to be considered as overqualified, or then you don't have the right experience. So it was kind of getting uh, jumping off the wheel of, okay, you don't have Canadian experience. Okay, where do I get Canadian experience? So it was kind of, I like to say, without exaggerating, a little bit of discrimination
Mhm.
against people that did not have Canadian experience.
Yeah, can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, so I was asked, I like to say borderline inappropriate questions in interviews. As like, okay, so what do you actually learn there? It's like engineering, like what other people are learning engineering. Why don't you ask me questions related to the job interview rather? And it was, what kind of housing do you have there? It's like, okay, does that have anything to do with what am I interviewing for? And kind of like really questions that had nothing to do with an interview.
So, how did you address those challenges or work through them, both
Um,
personally, emotionally, and professionally?
like emotionally was difficult because it was okay, so I'm coming here with a bag full of dream and hopes and with the 2 suitcases, reducing my life to 2 suitcases per person, ready to start fresh. But I can get into any company that I don't have any connections that I worked before with. My husband got work because he previously worked with a company from Canada. However, for me, it was like a very, very long journey and was actually convincing a plant manager to take a chance on me. It's like, okay, what do you have to lose? You don't have anybody to do supervising for this shift. What do you have to lose if you hire me? And who am I up against, like, what do they have more qualification wise. So even now it's a little bit difficult when you're, say you're not getting the job, and I hear this from people that I know, you're not getting the job but you don't know why, and
Yeah.
nobody tells you, okay, so we opted for a candidate that fit in our range of salary or experience and background. If you would have come down with your with your salary expectations, or if you go and get more experience, 2 years of this, then we'll be happy to have you interviewing back. So back in the day, it was not as digital, the interviewing
Right.
online and everything else. You would be face to face, and
Yeah.
you would at least have the opportunity to ask these questions. I didn't know in the beginning what questions. Did I speak English? Yes. Did I speak English as fast as the people native here? No. So everything had to go to the voicemail so I can listen to it a couple of times
Yeah.
and ask everybody to speak a little slower for me
Hmm.
until I picked up the pace. Because English is actually my fourth language.
Wow.
Yeah, and I picked it up just by taking my little sister to a tutor that was teaching her English, and I was doing nothing, sitting and waiting for her there, and I was picking up, and I was starting to answer the questions instead of her, and the tutor was like, "Do you want to participate? Should I talk to mom to get you to join the classes?"
Hmm.
And yeah, I wasn't taking it in school back then, so being in my fourth language and trying to wrap my mind around the fourth language, it was another process of um, um, fitting in. You're once again like in university, you want to fit in the first,
Yeah.
and you pick up all kind of good things and all kind of not so good things to
Yep.
fit in with everybody. So I got my first break when I just asked this guy, so okay, so what are your concerns? That I'm a woman, because this crew is male only, that I'm gonna quit because I'm gonna take mat leave, or that I'm overqualified and I'm not gonna stay here for this job. It's like, what do you have to lose right now if you give me a chance?
Mhm. And how did he respond to that?
And he started a belly laugh and was like, okay, so when do you want to start? He's like, Monday's fine. He's like, okay, okay, so that bonus points that you can start Monday.
Good
Uh,
for you.
yeah,
And
so
so, what made you be so forward and so direct and not just get frustrated and give up?
I think that by then I probably applied to 100 jobs.
Mhm. Which
In
speaks a lot to your ability to not give up and keep going. So what is it inside of you that allowed you to go through applying for 100 jobs and then getting to the point going, okay, what is the problem here? What in you allowed you to do that?
I don't know. I guess that, the desire to make it in the free world, to kind of fit in the mold that I was having, that was a little bit, I like to say, conditioned by the family. And I'm not blaming anybody, don't get me wrong. It's just like I'm out of that bandwagon of blame, shame, and guilt. I don't do those kind of things. So back in that day, um, I was conditioned to maybe step into my dad's footsteps and to get a job similar to his, and to kind of show that I made it,
Mhm.
that I got my job, that I'm successful at what I was conditioned to do.
Mm. Okay.
Never once did I ask myself, is this the right thing for me to do?
Mhm.
Does this fill my cup? Am
Mhm.
I doing this to just feed my kid and pay my bills?
Mhm.
What's the reason that I'm doing this?
And what is the answer to that?
there's no answer right now. There is you going through the motions. I'm calling many of us are thinking about when we start thinking about those things that we have a midlife crisis.
Mhm.
I would like to call that is the awakening moment, is asking yourself those hard questions
Okay. So you're
and
in
being
process.
your own therapist. So I had this um, job for a couple of years,
Mhm.
and I got into a cycle of every job was lasting 2.5 years.
Mhm.
And most jobs did not want to pay you enough or to give you any
Mhm.
benefits.
Mhm.
And I had in my mind, I'm not going to name names and companies and all that stuff because I'm not working that way, but I had in my mind a dream company that I wanted to work for eventually. And I finally got there.
Good for you.
And it was humongously disappointing.
In what way?
In many, many ways, in the ways, oh, we tried that and it didn't work. It's like, okay, when? 10, 20 years ago? Can we give it another try and see if it works right now?
Mhm.
Uh, it was like a humongous trail of paperwork.
Mhm.
The way the some trainings were going, I was just not totally on board that yes, we want to find out what can be improved or how can we do this differently.
Mhm.
I would like to say that that was their system, and their system was like a whole bunch of shelves with boxes of different sizes,
Mhm.
and I didn't fit in any of them.
Not a problem. It's just experience, right? It's just you learning about where you fit and where you don't.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested, Alina, in this little girl that grew up in Romania and where this like drive and not giving up and this passion of doing what's right for you. Can you speak to that little girl and how she was raised and what it was like in Romania, and then also what it's bringing up for you now with everything that's going on in Ukraine, and of course having your parents there as well.
That little girl was very feisty little girl,
Mhm.
but was not necessarily a good quality that the parents were looking to nurture.
Mm.
It was more likely to be perceived to be more masculine than a feminine quality.
Sure.
And I was a little bit of a tomboy that I like to climb trees and do all kind of things that maybe they were frowned upon back in that day for little girls to do. The education, my mom and dad tried the best they could to give me the best education possible. So I started piano lessons, ballet lessons. I learned German, then I learned French, and at the end I learned English. Um, and there was always something to do between all those things to study and to prepare for.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say that with all the respect and love that everybody does the best they can with the tools that they have and they want to give a better life to their children,
Mhm.
I was maybe instilled into a little bit of not competitive, being competitive, but being a perfectionist with myself.
Mhm.
So trying to do everything like my teacher that I love and respect a lot, and is my mentor and my teacher, Judith Hanson Lassiter, would say, we call it the laziness of overdoing. So you don't know when to stop because you're conditioned to keep doing it until there's absolutely nothing to be fixed. So that was one of the moments that I was given a little bit of a wake up call.
Mhm.
One of my teachers in the management program that later became my friend was teaching me accounting, and I was mortified, scared to death by accounting. I've never done accounting in my entire life.
Yep.
And I had to go through all the assign work 2 or 3 times and do the optional work too. So I'm sure that I'm getting it. So in other words, I was studying constantly while having a job and a household to take care of. And he said something to me, what is up with you and your perfectionism? You are negotiating with me 2% like there is no tomorrow. What is 2% going to give you? And 2% was not a passing grade, was from 98 to 100.
Mhm.
So what if you get those 2% from me right now? What is that going to do for you?
Mhm.
Have you ever considered how much time are you spending bringing it from 85 to 100? And what could you do in that time?
Mhm. What did that 2% mean to you? What did that say
Uh,
who you were to get that extra 2%?
I I don't know. I think that that was my little conditioning that
Mhm.
as a musician, piano playing and everything that I was doing, that everything needed to be right on time and done a certain manner. So nobody is disappointed, not even myself.
Okay, so that extra 2% would mean that you were enough to not be a disappointment.
Hmm.
Yeah. But you're maybe already enough just the way you are, because it sounds like you've accomplished quite a lot of challenges and been successful in your own right. And when you spoke to this masculine energy as a child, we have both the masculine and the feminine energy. And sometimes we lay heavy in the masculine and sometimes we lay heavy in the feminine, but whatever energy is within us in that moment is what it is. Like you were this little girl that was like, no, I'm like action, I'm getting it done, I'm pursuing it, I'm driven, give it all to me. And good for you. And then getting to the point of, okay, like I'm learning more about me. Maybe I don't have to be perfect. And maybe who I am exactly as I am in this moment and in the next moment and in the next moment is good enough.
Hmm. Yeah, and he said something to me. Do you know how much of an accomplishment is to get from zero knowledge and accounting to 98 on your own without the need to get to 100?
Mhm.
And he kind of crack the door open to question some things that I never questioned because you never question, right? My teacher likes to tell the story about the ham that the Thanksgiving ham that the hostess was cutting the ends of it. And I was like, why are you cutting the ends of it? I don't know. Let's ask mom. Mom says, I don't know. Let's ask grandma. And grandma says, because my pan is too small. So a whole generation of women picked up a habit without knowing why.
Interesting. That's a great little story. And I
Hmm. So I started to question the whys. The why started to happen
Mhm.
in a little bit of a floodgate kind of whys. It
Mhm.
was not a smooth transition into the whys, and I started to have this. I wanted to understand, and this is what my teacher defines as empathy.
Mhm.
So, empathy is when you develop curiosity. When somebody is really not fitting the mold, not doing their thing, or doing something questionable, or even very, very, very bad, but you are asking yourself why. So, what was the suffering, or what are the underlying reasons for somebody to make these choices. So this was this individual in our group work in accounting that was very late with everything that he needed to do, or not doing it whatsoever
Mhm.
and delegating it to whomever wanted to do it. And at some point, I was like, okay, so my understanding is that your time is so tightly, neatly scheduled that there is very little time for you to work on this assignment, and you could use a little bit of extra work. Um, and then from that conversation, what transpired that he had enough time to go to the gym. And from there, I was not upset or angry. I wanted to understand the gym situation because at that point in my life, I've never been to the gym and I did not know how does that feel like. It's like, okay, would you be okay to get a pass and take me with you once so I can understand why is this so important and this is a little bit less important. And he took me to the gym, pushed me into all kind of classes and into a workout. By the end of the day, I was ecstatic. I was so happy. I was, wow, now I get it. He goes there to be like this, and then he goes home and he doesn't feel like putting his nose into the box. That didn't make it easier for the rest of us to do it, but I had empathy and understanding that that too is important.
Yeah, and with the empathy and the asking why, it opened up an opportunity for you to be introduced to something that you love. Right. And did that then at some point lead you into the yoga world and getting more physically?
Yes, that's where I'm getting at.
Okay, great.
That was my introduction to going to the gym. I was probably one of the most enthusiastic and non-coordinated person in the universe. That had a history of back pain and all kind of other things that were maybe sometimes we're thinking that, ooh, what if I get injured with all those things, and I wasn't ready to take a chance on it.
Mhm.
And um, next thing I knew, like a couple of weeks after that introduction to the gym, I was actually signing up for the gym membership.
Mm.
Then it became a daily habit that I was stopping to certain classes right after work because I realized if I come home and I eat, game over, it's not happening that I'm going back to the gym.
Right.
And I started to take certain classes, and a couple of years down the road of taking daily those classes, one of the girls that was teaching the class was not well. And she said, do you think you could be on stage for me today and I can do the talking and you can do the demonstrating?
Mm.
Uh, I was like the deer in the headlights. Like, no, I was one of those people that wanted to be glued to the back wall and not necessarily be spoken to. And I wasn't a social butterfly going to the gym to talk to people. I was going there to do my thing and then take a shower and go home and eat and relax. So anyway, she was really, really unwell and didn't realize how unwell she was until she arrived there. I think she couldn't breathe very well. She was having some sort of back situation. So I, I got to do that. It's
So
like, you know what?
what gave you the courage to be the girl on the back wall to I'm gonna take center stage and do this?
I don't know. I guess it was maybe the savior kind of syndrome that you're saving somebody that is not feeling very well and they don't have too many options other than canceling the class and sending people home or getting in trouble if she couldn't anticipate how unwell she was gonna be. So she was talking and I was moving, kind of thing. I was her model on stage.
Mhm.
And at the end of the class, like, have you ever considered that you spend so much time at the gym that you could probably learn how to teach these classes and maybe make some money, or at least have your membership paid for? It's like, do you really think I could do that?
Well,
Like,
you
your
did.
form is good, is really as good as it gets.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to learn the cues and everything else. So this was a choreograph class. It was a lot of learning to do, like timing and a lot of learning to do. And saying, do you want me to arrange for you an audition? Because they usually look at your form and then everything else can be taught. So she arranges for me an audition, and the woman that auditioned me at the end says, we don't have any openings actually. We can't send you to training because we don't have any openings. At that
What?
time, I started to be, it's like, why would you even audition me if you don't have anything?
Mhm.
What is the driving force to do that? It's like, are you gonna keep me on your roster? Am I your first, your fifth, your 10th on the list? And I wasn't getting any answers. But I knew that I was also taking a class with somebody else.
So, what did you think was really happening in that moment?
I don't know. I'm not taking no for an answer very easily.
What do
So
you think she was? I get that you weren't taking no for an answer, and I love that. But what do you think was really happening when she was auditioning you for this position and then ending it with, well, actually, we don't have any openings?
she was auditioning me for a training that was about to happen to give me a spot in that training, because the trainings were internal trainings rather, but you would pay for them and you get the money back only if they would be hiring you at the end after doing a video recording of yourself teaching and passing all the requirements. So I don't know. I really asked her, so is there a point for me to even audition today and take some time off work to audition today? I was like, oh yeah, like, we're gonna call you if and when the opportunity arises. I was like, I know for a fact that there is a training in a month and a half or 2 months, something like that.
Mhm.
Are you telling me that that training is full, or that you don't need anyone to teach this type of class in this area? And so at this time there are no openings. That's what I can tell. It's like there are no openings in your area, and there are openings in another area. I'm trying to understand. And she wasn't really giving me too much. But I was going to another person that was teaching other classes, that she was a little bit on a higher rank position. And I was like, okay, let's see if we can make this thing happen. So I went to her class, like, oh, by the way, I auditioned for for this person, and she said that she'll keep me in mind, but there are no openings right now. And she was looking at me, it's like, yes, there are openings. Do you want to go to that training? I've seen you in my class, front row, center front row, for a while. I've seen you form, um, and it's like, have you ever taken any music? Are you any musically inclined? I was like, yeah, I took 12 years piano. Okay, so how about I'll get your email and your phone, and I'll let you know if you have a spot in the training. And I got a spot in the training.
Good for you. So, what do you want to say to all the little girls that have lived a life that you have lived, coming over to a new country, having to go through discrimination and adversity? What do you really want to say to those girls that are struggling to keep going?
Is find it in yourself. What makes your heart skip a beat? What makes your heart fall? What would you like more of in your life? What brings you joy?
And when they get to that point, but they're trying and they're trying and they're trying and they just want to give up, what do you say then?
What I say to all my clients I was like, I can't be the first person to believe in you. You have to be the first person to believe in yourself. And I can be the second one. And from here, we can build a tribe and we can all believe in each other. But you have to believe in yourself. I would like to say, though, that sometimes maybe you have to ask yourself, is that my dream or did I pick somebody else's dream? Did I insert myself in somebody else's dream?
Yeah.
Did I pick it up because it's trendy? Because I think I'm gonna be famous overnight, or I'm gonna have a big bank account. Like, what's my motivation? What's my internal motivation? So we
Yes.
learn in meditation and Iris Yoga Nidra that I'm certified in to align ourselves with our heart. What is coming from your heart, not from your brain.
Mhm.
So I kind of figured out that when I'm connected with my heart,
Mhm.
it's like my breath is nice and smooth and everything comes out really flowy. If I'm connected to my brain and I'm trying to like, should I wish for this or should I wish for that? Should I wish for this or for that? Then I'm holding my breath. Then I'm overthinking and I'm splitting hairs. And if I'm splitting hairs, I'm now moving in the direction of my heart and what am I meant to be doing?
Mhm. Okay. So
So
yes,
all the little girls out there, um, what do you want? What makes
believe
it,
in yourself, right?
yeah, believe in yourself. Like when people are telling you no, ask why not. What else can you add to what you have in your toolbox to, or mentoring. Don't underestimate the power of mentoring. Back in the day when yoga was not cool and I went to the yoga teacher training because I want to know more about Pilates and about yoga and about meditation, I didn't feel that we all have, I guess, to a certain level, the imposter syndrome when we're starting
Mhm.
and we question ourselves. I like to say that having a good mentor can be very supportive and very helpful. Back in that day, that sounds like so back then. Uh, Applying for yoga teacher training was a big deal because there were not that many,
Mhm.
and they were asking for a letter of recommendation from your teacher that you spend at least 1 year taking classes with.
Mhm.
And that teacher had to answer a few questions to give you the go ahead mentally, emotionally, and physically that you will be able to sustain the long days of a yoga teacher training and assignments and everything else. So the mentor that I had, I never chose mentors that were easy on me because I wanted to know the truth and the reality. Okay, do I have what it takes, or are you trying to sugarcoat these things for me? Give it to me raw and tell me what to do and what is good to keep and what do I need to work on. So I had a mentor that was a little bit like a cold shower most of the times. And I did have many, many days I was coming home and I was crying, but I was going on the mat to cry. And I was like, okay, I can do this. Because first time when I had to teach, I didn't know you can sweat in so many places. And that you can get tongue tied and you can say all kind of funny, not so funny things, and you can go through those. Many of us expect to go like from 1 to 200 miles per hour like a Ferrari in
Mhm.
3 seconds. In real life, only Lady Gaga was born that way. All of us need to put the sweat and some tears sometimes because not every time is a smooth ride. And the more bumpy the ride is, the more lessons you learn. That's what I learned. So
Awesome.
every bump is an opportunity to slow down, to breathe, and to reassess and to readjust the course. So what's your course? Okay, do I go over this big bump? We learned this like super funny story we learned in San Francisco, being in a training with my teacher and a bunch of other teachers. We were staying at a hostel downtown, and we went out for dinner. We got a big rain coming. Um, the Uber didn't want to take us, all of us, because we're not fitting. And we said, okay, the four of you that fit in go. We're gonna be walking. The two of us that are more valid to walk right
Yep.
now. And so interesting that it was raining so hard that we didn't stop to look at the map to readjust the course. And we picked the street that was the most uphill on the rain to go back to the hostel. If we would have gone two more streets, would have been slightly longer, but not that much uphill. So that's why I'm saying that if you're sitting back and you are looking at the big picture, and I think that's where engineering comes in, that I learned how to look at the big picture, and I learned how to have like adjustments, like small adjustments, course adjustments. So
So
uh, I'm
shifting
not
with
going totally uphill like in that situation.
that's a great story. It's a great analogy for people. So, okay. So I love what you said to the young girls out there. And I think, also with what we have going on in Ukraine and your parents still being over there, I think that's a really important topic to make sure we visit, because I think people are kind of lost in what to do and how to support. And um, I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit about your experience with having your parents there and what it's like for you in this moment.
My parents is not they are not as close as dangerously close to the border, but as a neighboring country, you never know what is going to happen.
Mhm.
Um, it is it is a touch and go, and there's a lot more to the story that comes through the news channels.
Yes. So we're looking for
There,
the personal story and not the media, right?
mm,
The truth of your experience.
there are so many people finding refuge right now in the neighboring countries, Romania being one of them, Poland being another one, Finland being another one. And it is absolutely phenomenal to see how people are coming together to support moms and kids and families uh, fleeing from the conflict.
How have you
Uh,
seen them doing that in your experience?
how have I seen that?
Yeah, how have you seen others supporting the moms and children and things like that? What have you seen people reaching out?
I have stories coming from friends. One of the things that I've done pursuing the highest levels of yoga teachings, I traveled quite a bit and I met a lot of people that are in my network, and some of them have roots in those areas. And I'm getting some information from some of the people that are near and dear to me, and there are all kind of suggested ways to contribute if you're not really sure how to contribute. One of the ways that were suggested were to look for the Ukrainian artists on Etsy and purchase art made in Ukraine, whether you are receiving it or not.
Absolutely. Yep. But just the
Yeah,
gift of ordering it to support.
exactly. Or this was a little bit more in the media to book an Airbnb
Yeah.
in Ukraine. I know that refugees are going to be redistributed to because Poland can't take that many. Some of them may be coming to Canada. Probably some of them are going to be in US, in other countries. Um, there is. I'm hoping that now so many years after I went through those interviews,
Mhm.
now there is no more line of separation between who was born in a certain country and who is coming for a variety of reasons. This would be one of the worst reasons to flee your country and your possessions. So
Yes.
I'm hoping
There
that
be,
employees
yeah, go ahead.
would be opening their doors for jobs that reflect the background and education and experience
Mhm.
of the refugees, and that they get to make a life that they can decide later. Do they want to return when things are going to calm down, or do they want to stay where they found new homes?
Yeah, so the hope that there would be more empathy at this point.
Yes, I'm hoping that it's not the hand me down, because that is sometimes what we think, that, oh yeah, I'm gonna put my clothing, instead of give them to Goodwill, I'm gonna send them to refugees. It's not about that. It's about teaching them how to fish in a new fish pond. So how do I fish here? How do I cater to myself? How do I make a living? A lot of people, like for instance, when I moved to Canada, I didn't even know how to open a bank account. We were working with cash back home,
Mhm.
and there was no credit. I didn't know so many things. So there are so many things that you can teach someone if they are in your area as refugees or immigrants.
Mhm.
And you can actually ask, what do you need assistance with? My teacher told us that when you ask somebody, how can I be of assistance, rather than how can I help you, then you put the power onto them
I love that.
to request what do they need. So for instance, sometimes I have in the yoga teacher trainings guest speakers, and they usually receive a gift. If I know them well, they receive some books. If I don't know them very well, I'm asking them, can you remove the guessing from this, and to just steer me in the right direction, where what brings you joy in your life, so I can pour into that cup, and it's not a, oh yeah, I receive another thing that I can't use. So I think that we're trying to be helpful, and sometimes we don't know how to, and asking how to be of assistance is a little bit, it's a big step forward.
When you ask
Then
a
you're,
different question, you get a different answer, right?
mhm.
So it's about asking the right question.
And sometimes it's so small. And I also learn, think that if people don't know you very well, that might think that you're high on something, but that might be yoga. To ask someone in your life, how can I make your life more wonderful today?
Beautiful.
And most often, as you know, how you, when you bake those cookies, or when you make that food, or when we go out for a walk,
Mm.
and most often is like a very, very small thing that you would not even think that it makes somebody's life more wonderful.
And it's so interesting that the examples you gave are just this like beautiful small shared moment with somebody, a walk together, baking something together, offering a gift of love, right? That is the most meaningful at the end.
Mm.
So I'm interested, through all the experiences that you had from a little child to up until now, and finding this, job and yoga and meditation that does bring you this joy, what would you say the biggest lesson is that you've learned through the entire process?
I still like, all my big lessons were brought through by my teacher.
Mhm.
That often she says, would you get out of your way, please?
Mm.
So sometimes that moment in which you start believing that you are enough, and you have so much compassion and empathy and value that you can bring to those around you,
Mhm.
I've learned you cannot teach yoga to people that have more yoga experience than you.
Yeah, that's right.
And what can you teach them is maybe not all those poses, is something else. So I guess that's my most precious kind of learning. Not talking myself out of things because I think that I might not be successful. Redefining success as in like a compass, looking at, okay, am I still true to my joy? Am I still true to my heartfelt desire? Or is this going against my values or morals or whatever I'm looking at? Sometimes I'm an old fashioned, I don't have my daily planner here, but I do the paper one because I really like to have color codes and all kind of things, what's in person, what's online, what time,
Mm-hmm.
all kind of things that are penciled in are really technically penciled in until they are confirmed. So looking at that is kind of, okay, how do I need to adjust? If somebody's asking me for something, I have no problem opening up my daily planner. Look at this. There is no potential place that I could put you right now.
And
And
where can people find you if they wanted to find you or get in touch with you or have questions or thoughts about some of the things you've shared today? How could they get in touch?
They can touch through social media. Right now, everybody's on social media. They can find me at Alive by Alina, and on Facebook, on Instagram. And if they put Alina at alivebyalina.com, then they can email me if they have questions.
Wonderful.
Another thing that I want to mention is if there's something that you build resentment picking up, then don't pick it up. If you think, do I have to do this? I usually like to give the nonviolent communication was a big thing coming from my teacher. I usually like to say that this project is so exciting, but is not in congruence with where I'm going right now and what I'm hoping to put on my plate right now. So sometimes I like to suggest other people that I think that might be a good fit for the job, or say no. If I'm saying this is not happening right now anytime soon, but if you remind me 2 months down the road, then I'm putting the agency on you. Do you still want it? Do you still need it? Then you're gonna find me.
Great. I think that's great advice. Is there anything else that you feel like I just really want people to know?
Never stop dreaming.
Mhm.
Never stop dreaming and moving in that direction. However, there needs to be a reality touch to the dreaming. I
Mhm.
usually like to say to my students, my 200 and 300 hour yoga teacher training students. So, okay, so if right now I was saying, hey, my dream is to be an actress in Hollywood and move in a mansion in a year, then
Mhm.
that's probably out of reality touch with my skill set and my education and my dreams and my joy. And that's probably not going to happen. But if my dream is in congruence with what I have done so far,
Mhm.
or very out of the line a little bit,
Mhm.
then that could be a new offshoot of the dream.
Absolutely. So keep dreaming, believe in yourself, don't give up, and just keep going. That was a lot of beautiful things that you shared, and I'm so grateful and honored to have you here. And I hope that many people find their way to you and you can continue to share your gifts with them. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Alina.